right now, Jack's chase rate is at 30.4%, which is right about league average. Can you just stay right there? Can it be a league average chase rate? If he's at a league average chase rate, then he's able to do more damage in the strike zone. And it's not just they can throw anything up there and he's going to swing at that. One Royal Way back at it here on Kansas City Sports Network. I'm Joel Penfield. Thank you all so much for tuning in. Make sure to like, rate, subscribe, review on all platforms. Hit those notification bells, when these episodes go live. This is the weekly longer form episode. At least I hope it's longer form. It should be. In the 30 to 45 minute range is kind of what I'm shooting for here. Talk about some overall thoughts from the first 4 games of the season. I'm recording this on Tuesday night, so the Royals had an off day, so you guys will hear this before potentially the night game on Wednesday, which with the weather, I don't know if it gets banged or not, but there's certainly a possibility of that. So some weird weather inbound, but we got a few games to talk about here. Just some thoughts on what we've seen so far. Just kind of to expand on some of the other places that I've talked about this team throughout so far. And then we're going to have some fun with some small sample size numbers because we have 4 games to go off of. There are obviously the stats involved there. We'll see what's real, what's not, what's stuff to watch out for as we move forward. And if maybe it gives us an indication of some things we may see throughout the season. I'm not 100% sure on some of this. Some of this is just going to be all out of whack here in 2 weeks, but we'll talk about it anyways. And it's just to kind of get the small sample disclaimer out of the way over this first 6 weeks or so of the season. Before we do all that, this show, as always, brought to you by Emprise Bank, member FDIC, our partners Impossible. Here at Kansas City Sports, I'm working on this show. 3rd year that they have sponsored the show. We can't thank them enough. I can't thank them enough for that support. I know Kevin and Jared, as well. All right, let's dive in here to these first 4 games. The Royals sit at 2-2, leading into the game on Wednesday against the Minnesota Twins. You really feel like they should be 3-1 with the collapse on Saturday. That was, I said it on the radio, it was like watching a slow motion car crash. We'll talk a little bit more about that. In the pitcher involved is Carlos Estevez here in a little while as we kind of get into some of those small sample size numbers and what they're going to do in the bullpen. But just some things. I think this team is still a work in progress, but I don't think that's a bad thing. Like, got 158 games left. This team is still trying to figure out what they are. But I think one thing, at least I know for now, is that the pitching is still going to be really good for this team. Like it raises the floor to such a level that while the offense is a work in progress and they're figuring things out, they're still going to find a way to keep themselves in a lot of games because of the way they can pitch. And we saw that with Lugo. We saw that with Waka. We saw that with Bubic, who didn't have his, and Bubic of those 3 starts had the worst of the 3, in my opinion. And he still gave up 1 run, 2 hits, and gave you 6 innings on 75 pitches, was incredibly efficient. Threw 20 pitches in the first inning and then 55 in the next 5 and got out of there, kept the Royals in that game as the offense slowly found their way to get going with some bottom of the order production with the 2 home runs from Isbell and from Isaac Collins. I thought outside of save Carlos Estevez, Lucas Erceg has looked really good. I liked what I saw from Matt Strahm. Small sample, 1 outing, very short outings from Nick Mears and Daniel Lynch, like what I saw there. And we'll see what Noah Cameron has, but again, he's your 5 starter. If Reagans, Lugo, Waka, Bubic pitch to their talent level, then what you get from Noah Cameron is just a bonus. Like there isn't that same pressure on him that there was last year to eat a crap ton of innings. Oh, and we also need you to pitch to a 3 ERA because the rest of these guys are either hurt or ineffective. So it's the way that I think we view Noah Cameron's a little bit different now. And we'll see what Reagans has. I think he's going to bounce back. I don't expect him to have the type of outing that he had on Friday. Again, gave up 2 lefty homers, which is something he doesn't necessarily do. The home run to fly ball rate was 60%. So not going to see something like that over the course of a season. That is one of those small sample size numbers that is unsustainable. It's just not, that is not going to happen. Ball's flying a little bit in Atlanta over the weekend. Offensively, I think we see the beginnings of some good things, and we'll get into that, dive into that a little more later. You can see some of the effect that Connor Dawson has had with, being a little more selective at the plate, trying to work better counts. On Monday, in the first inning of the 5 batters that went up there, they worked 4 3-ball counts. Now, they didn't get any runs across, but they're making pitchers work and trying to marry an aggressive approach in the zone with being selective and not chasing and not trying to force the issue of putting the ball in play just for the sake of doing it and to get on base at the cost of hitting good pitches and making good swing decisions. There's a lot of what we've seen is the Royals don't strike out a lot historically, but they also don't walk a lot, and they chase a lot because they're chasing contact. This is trying to make a more controlled approach in the strike zone. Now, some of that is, I think there may be a little bit of too many wheels turning in that, trying to be too selective with 2 strikes as well. They watched a lot of good pitches go by on Monday. Carter watched a fastball down the middle. I think it was a funky lefty, but still, Vinny did as well. Isaac Collins swung through a couple of fastballs down the middle, then watched one down the middle. So I think that it's still a work in progress from an approach. I think there's enough good in there as well mixed in that makes me think they're going to be able to work through it. It's not unsustainably bad, and it's also not a sustainable product yet. So we'll see overall. Bobby has really not gotten going yet. Vinny's had some moments, but is still working. I think the Michael in the leadoff spot is working to about as expected right now. He's done a really good job getting on base, setting the tone offensively. A couple of hits yesterday, got some hits and worked some plate appearances in Atlanta as well. So he's getting on in front of Bobby. Now Bobby's just got to get his timing right and get on time there. And Carter, showed the big time power, showed some of that plate selection, just a matter of putting it all together. So we're at a position now for the Royals where they're still going to find their way to win games. It's just a matter of, can they find a way to win a game 7-1 and just take a little bit of pressure off of the staff every once in a while. And then sure, they're going to have their fair share of 4-2, 3-2, 2-1 games. That's going to happen. I think that's just who this team is. They're not going to be some high flying offense. And maybe as we see more games at Kauffman Stadium, that might swing a little bit with the fences in. We'll see what kind of offense that generates. But I'm not super down. I'm not super up right now on what we've seen. Obviously, they're 2-2. So, with a long way to go, and they're going to play a lot of games here in April, without a lot of off days. So they're going to play a lot in a row. We're going to see where this team is at mentally, without that many off days coming up. And I'll confirm that in the schedule here. But they had the off day today, and I don't believe they have another one for quite a while. So we'll see what they kind of have in them here, as we get going. Apologize for the live look up here. Their next off day after today is looks like April 13th. So yeah, they'll play the next 2 against the Twins, 3 against the Brewers, on the road to Cleveland, 4-gamer against the White Sox. Then Monday the 13th, they have an off day, travel day to Detroit before they play the Tigers and the Yankees before playing the Orioles. And then they play 9 straight again. And then they get the Angel Series off day. So April is going to be a grind for this team with the lack of off days and that many consecutive games at the beginning of the season. And they're going to have a stretch like that probably in June as this season goes. But We're going to get a lot of baseball. We're going to get a lot of looks at a lot of different players. They can't make any options until the first week of April. So what the team is right now is what we're going to see until they can make some moves, save an IL stint. So we'll see what they have next couple of days against the Twins. It's a way for them to take advantage of some wins against a team that is probably not going to be very good, as we talked about in the offseason. And then the Brewers coming in. The Brewers are going to be really good once again. I know the Cubs became a lot of the conversation in the NL Central. The Brewers are a great team still, and they're a great regular season team. So that's going to be the first test out of the gate for the Royals at home before they play. I think it was Cleveland and then the White Sox. So a lot of divisional games early here for Kansas City to either separate themselves or kind of a litmus test to see where they're at within their division. We need to take a quick break. We'll come back and we'll talk about, throw a bunch of numbers out there, talk about a bunch of small sample stats, and go from there.
I had a loose broker owner, Casey Local Homes, and Emprise Bank has been a great partner for us. They're our partner in Possible. Debbie and I hit it off immediately, and she was one of the first bankers that I would say sat down with me and actually genuinely cared about my story and where I was coming from and what I was trying to do, not just what kind of loan do you need, how much equity do you have, and she really kind of laid out my options for me and just made the process make sense, and I felt comfortable with it. Start to talk about it and think about it, a building popped up that I wanted, that I could afford, and it was in a great area. And so they really guided me through the SBA. I used the SBA loan to acquire it and really guided me through that process and made it happen. I think that we talk about that a lot, where we wouldn't have a business. We wouldn't have what we have here if we didn't have the clientele that we do. I've always functioned out of a people over profits mentality. The houses sell themselves, right? I'm here to help people and facilitate the transaction for them.
Sure, like and subscribe, everybody. I do appreciate those of you listening on the audio and video side. Leave a review on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, wherever you listen as well. Really, it does help the channel grow. This thing continue to roll. So I'm going to throw a bunch of numbers out here. Again, this is 4-game sample. So take everything that I say here with a grain of salt. I'm not saying this is how it's going to be the rest of the season. This is just what we have to go off of through 4 games. And it's trends and things that I've already had in mind, but now things that I'm going to be watching out for now that we have a little bit of actual baseball played. So the first thing I wanted to think about and start going towards, and this was something the Royals have struggled with for the last few years, just as a team, had a hard time hitting fastballs, which is a problem when you think about the number one predominant pitch that is thrown in baseball are fastballs, and that includes sinkers and cutters and two-seamers and all that. So it's just any fastball variant. The Royals have had a hard time hitting them last year, and I was curious where they were at through 4 games this year to see, where this ends up. So I was able to pull an Excel. Shout out to Royals Data Dugout for showing me where to do and how to perform the search in Baseball Savant to pull these numbers. And these are total team stats, not just the individual players all out. I was able to actually pull the team stats. So this is against 4-seam sinkers and cutters. Through 4 games this season so far, the Royals are hitting 200 as a team against fastballs. That is tied for 4th worst in Major League Baseball. The only teams worse. The Phillies are tied with them. The Padres, the Reds, and the Giants are hitting $119 against fastballs. So, and for anyone that cares, the Washington Nationals are hitting .369 against fastballs so far. Some other numbers. I didn't pull the ranks for these. Just the filters were getting kind of funky. But there was a 107 ISO against fastballs. Not great. The BABIP is 228, so it's not like the Royals are getting, unlucky, super unlucky. That's pretty, that's in there a little bit. A 307 slug, 268 weighted on base average, which just takes into account not all hits are created equal, that's that sort of thing. And then the expected weighted on base average is still 304, which isn't awesome either. And the expected batting average is 233, so slightly better, but still not very good. maybe, still well below league average at 233. So it's at least right now, a continued trend for what we have seen the last few years, that this team struggles hitting fastballs. And it's a problem, right? And it has been one of those things, and I'm not incredibly critical of Alex Zumwalt. I think there's some things they could be better at offensively. But I think this is where hopefully Connor Dawson, Marcus Thames are able to help stem the tide on this. But throughout Alex Zumwalt's tenure as the hitting coach, the Royals have struggled as a team to hit fastballs. They hit, I think it was 225 against them last year as a team. I pulled the report. I could be looking at it wrong, but either way, it was one of the worst teams in baseball against them. It was they're in the bottom third of the league, and that's been a trend. So this is just an early continuation of it. Some of this can change. A couple guys get hot in the beginning of the year, that a number is going to inflate, but this is a number I'm going to keep going back to throughout the year to see where they're at. And it could be one of the reasons why the offense either levels up because they're able to figure it out, and some of this is just getting on time, getting in rhythm can change some of that. But if you want to be a good hitter in the league, anybody talks about it, you have to be able to hit off the heater and then adjust to everything else. But being able to hit off the heater is going to lead to more offensive success than anything else. So it's something to watch for. It's one of the biggest things that I'm going to be watching for. Next one I was looking at offensively was where are they at with runners in scoring position? It was a big problem last year after being one of the reasons why the offense was really good in 2024. So far, and it's about 20 plate appearances with runners in scoring position, and that's no outs, 1 out, 2 outs. It's just total runner on second, runner on third, runner second and third, however you want to put it together. Royals right now are slashing 100, 208, 100. It's a 308 OPS with runners in scoring position. So and those 2 hits are both singles. And I believe both of those were in the Sunday game in Atlanta. Bobby got a single and Vinny got a single. And I think that's it so far. Now, for some context, a little bit of bad luck involved in this, some degree. Specifically, Salvi on Friday night, he hits that sinking liner. Eli White makes a play. Yesterday, Bobby hits a ball on the screws with Michael on second, right at the shortstop, and Michael stuck in no man's land, doubled off. Vinny, I believe there was a runner on second when he hit the liner where Austin Riley made the headlong dive. That would have gotten through and potentially scored a run. It at least would have been a hit with runners in scoring position because it would have advanced the runner at a minimum. So those are 3 plate appearances that would have increased this number. So in a small sample, you still see the luck, but also it's not good enough. But you also in there, you have multiple double plays. You have Isaac Collins double play with the bases loaded and 1 out in the second inning of that game on Friday. They had chances yesterday and couldn't come through. All the runs were scored with either no one on or a runner on first. So yes, they've been able to push runs across in the last few games, but this is where they have to continue to get better. And we'll see over the next 100 plate appearances where it gets to, but the early indication is that some of the weighted runs created plus fortune is not in their favor right now. And but as much as that pendulum swings, you can make your own luck in baseball by putting the ball in play, making good things happen that eventually it ends up working. But 2 for 20 with runners in scoring position is a really, really rough spot for them to be right now. And a big reason why they're 2-2 and not 3-1, right? I was curious where the walk rate for this team would be because to my eye, they've done a better job of working counts and taking walks in some spots. Now, not all the time. Early in the game on Friday, they did. Late game, they did not. Saturday, put a lot of balls in play, didn't walk a lot. They took some on Sunday. They did an okay job of it yesterday. Right now, the team walk rate's at 8%, which is 22nd in the league. If you look at last year, over the 162 game sample, they were second to last in the league walk rate at 7.2% as a team. So trending upwards potentially, This could change drastically over the next week if they decide to stop walking, or it could continue to trend up if the effect that Connor Dawson and Marcus Thames have on this hitting room to continue to be more selective, take more pitches, not just cheat to a 3-1 heater just for the sake of it and take the walk, get on base, move the line. But I do think this is an interesting spot for it to be right now, because that feels about right. That they're still in the bottom third of the league, but it is better than last year, at least out at the start. And in a month and a half, we'll see how they continue to trend. But there are good things that you see. It's just not always resulting in a walk, right? But it is the ability to go up there, be more selective, work a 3-ball count, foul pitches off, see 7, 8, 9 pitches, see even 6 pitches, or see 4 in an at bat, in a 3-1 count, and then try and with your count leverage take advantage of it and take a shot. There's ways to still do that, even if it doesn't necessarily result in a walk. I think they're doing a much better job of trying to see more pitches in a game and not just hammer away just for the sake of it, which is what it feels like they have done in the past. Jack Caglione, it hasn't all quite come together for him, but you can see some of the plate appearances are getting better. He had a rough game on Monday, but he had a solid game on Saturday, I think with 2 hits and a double. So seeing it come together, the power hasn't quite come yet, but again, you can see the work in progress of the swing decision, pitch selection stuff still working, but it shines through every once in a while. I wonder where his chase rate was at. He was around 38.5% last year. That's very extensive. Now, he's always going to have a little bit of chase because his arms are so long, he can get to some of these pitches. And chase rate, as we talked about on Friday, it includes pitches that you swing at and make contact with out of the strike zone as well. It's not just pitches you swing and miss at out of the zone. Right now, Jack's chase rate is at 30.4%, which is right about league average. Can you just stay right there? Can it be a league average chase rate? If he's at a league average chase rate, then he's able to do more damage in the strike zone. And it's not just they can throw anything up there and he's going to swing at that. This is going to be huge for him because when he stays in the zone, as we talked about with JJ Piccolo, and he's not expanding and forcing pitchers to come into the zone, more likely he's going to get something in his nitro zone to be able to elevate, celebrate, hit bombs, right? And then it leads to more run production at the bottom of the order. It helps raise the floor for everything at the bottom, right? That is going to be really key for this team if he's able to level things up, if he's able to keep the chase in play, at a steady. League average is fine. I'm not expecting it to drastically turn to Michael levels at 14-15%. Like, he's not going to cut it in half from here. But can it get to 28% and be slightly above league average? I think that's a perfectly good outcome for this team, because that means he's probably going to hit the 240s and flirt with 30 homers. If he's like, it can have that massive an impact if he's not chasing to that level. The last one on the hitting side, just because I was curious, the timing has looked off. Some of the batted ball stuff has been weird for Bobby, but there's still enough there. The expected batting average is 387. He's hitting in the 250s right now, but a couple of hits tomorrow, and that's drastically going to change. All I have to say, Bobby's going to be fine. Generally, he's going to hit over 300 by the end of the season, I would imagine. So once he gets on time and in rhythm a little bit more, because it looks like he's just a hair off, which happens to hitters at the beginning of the year. Not everyone comes out the gate flying. It's just a matter of seeing more pitches, playing a full 9 innings, getting used to that, getting your feet underneath you. And even though we did that at the WBC, it's a little different. Playing all 9, keeping your body right for 162 as well. But I'm not concerned about Bobby. It's just a spot where I want to see him. Once he gets going, I think we'll have a better indication of where he is. Let's move over to the pitching side. Chris Bubich, one of the things that was surprising to watch, and I picked it up as the game went on, but I didn't clock how much he used the pitch last year, He threw his sinker 21% on Monday against the Minnesota Twins. Last year, he threw that pitch about 7%. So he used almost exclusively fastball, sweeper, slider, change. Occasionally, he threw the sinker. Well, he added that in as a wrinkle to a lineup where they had 8 righties. It was the 5 traditional righties and then 3 switch hitters with just the one lefty who was actually the one that popped him for the homer, Matt Wallner. He talked about that it was something that he wanted to use a little bit more in a lineup with that many righties. It's just showing another fastball variant as just another thing for the hitter to think about, not a pitch he's looking to get a lot of swing and miss with. Something that he is going to use to get a ground ball at the bottom of the zone, tunnel with his changeup, because of the movement profile. And the sinker is 90 to 91. The changeup is in the mid to low 80s, so that the path looks the same roughly, but the miles an hour is different. You can get guys out on their front foot. He had 6 whiffs on the changeup, which was like half of the swings and misses that he got yesterday. So had that pitch working. I'll be interested to see how much he uses this pitch against right-handed pitching, just to keep them honest, get ground balls, and stay efficient. Because he does a really good job generally of keeping the ball out of the air. I know that he gave up the homer, but he had one of the lowest home runs per 9 in Major League Baseball last year. The home run to fly ball rate is really low. He doesn't get, when guys do hit fly balls off him, it's not generally hard contact. It is more it's more pop up than it is true fly ball or deep fly ball. So the sinkers can help him keep the ball on the ground. And then he's able to use that fastball from the unique arm slot with the vert to be able to generate swings and misses in the strike zone with the fastball and let everything else play off of it. But I'll be curious to see how that percentage changes in the next start and moving forward. But I did think it was interesting how much he used that pitch in that spot. I talked a lot about Daniel Lynch this offseason and how I was skeptical. And I still am to a degree, skeptical of what is he going to do in the bullpen this year? Because by trading Angel Serpa, even though you necessitated the trade for Matt Strahm, but you still like to have a second lefty in the bullpen, so it's not just Matt Strahm and no one else. They moved Daniel Lynch fully into that role. There's no kind of the going back and forth of, well, we still like you to start, but we're going to keep you in the bullpen because we want to have you here. He's fully moved into the bullpen. And seems like that helped his fastball just tick up because he's not worried about saving himself with 3 innings or 4 innings now. It's just 1 inning spurts, maybe 2 if they really need it. Saw some 96s, saw a 97, which I don't ever remember seeing from Daniel Lynch at any point in his big league career. Yesterday, the fastball averaged 94.6. It was 9 pitches or so it's really hard to tell how that's going to look over the larger. But we saw a little bit of that proof of concept in spring training. And a lot of the reason why I had the skepticism, to get back to that point, as I jumped ahead of myself, there were a lot of the underlying numbers, the expected ERA, the expected slug, expected batting average, some of the batted ball stuff. He got lucky in a lot of areas last year. And he also, it's not like he struck out a lot of guys because he didn't do that. And he walked too many guys for the innings that he threw. So it just all of those things coming together, I was worried about what would happen this year to him, and would the regression hit him hard? Maybe, and I'm not totally sold on it, but I'm willing to see out the idea that the increase in fastball velocity, though the shape of the pitch is not great, just throwing it harder, it's a sinker, not a 4-seam. It's almost like, I think he's entirely ditched a 4-seam and it's just a sinker. If that helps alleviate some of the regression concerns, we'll see. I'm not totally bought into that yet. I probably want to see another 10 or 12 appearances from him before I really come to that conclusion. But I'm willing to at least see it out now because we've seen that increase hold a little bit. And we'll see as the weather warms up a little bit more and we get into the summer, if he's really able to let it eat at times and get up to a 6 or a 7, in the fastball department and go from there. But it is something to monitor, and I was impressed with what I saw out of him yesterday. The other side of the coin is Carlos Estevez, and I haven't gotten to talk about it much because we didn't record on Sunday. Just none of us were available to do a post game on Sunday, and with doing it on Monday, we knew that it would be fine. But got to talk about what Carlos Estevez did or really didn't do in the game on Saturday. He comes into the game, and no matter what he looked like, they were going to give him the 9th inning and see, okay, is the adrenaline of a 9th inning 2-run game going to be enough, like Carlos kind of talked about, to get the fastball back up, increase the velocity a little bit. And that first fastball was 90 miles an hour. And you could just kind of tell at that point, okay, this is going to be a problem. And they left him out there to do it. Now, the hindsight being 2020 is he probably should have got up a Nick Mears or a John Schreiber, but Carlos Estevez danced out of danger a lot last year. He saved 42 games. He's done this a lot in the big leagues. Like you trust him generally to get out of trouble, even with diminished stuff. And the fastball was down at the beginning of last year, but it was still 93, 94. This is 89, 90, 91, maybe a 92. And with the way he throws his fastball, there was also the lack of command with it. It wasn't like he was dotting corners at 91. He was right down the middle, or he was spraying it high, which is a mechanical thing, it felt. So there's a lot going on here with this. And even last year, the fastball was, by the end of the year, averaged almost 96. Previous year was around 97. So you're seeing he's a guy in his mid, I think he's 33, 34 years old. Excuse me just a second. He's 33 years old. Reliever volatility is a real thing. It's something that can follow some of these guys and it comes for everybody. It's just a matter of when. And I am not totally bought into his arm is shot and he's done, but clearly something's not right. Either he didn't ramp up properly, going to the WBC was a problem. He didn't give himself the opportunity. He didn't really let it eat in spring training to just see if it's there and then dial it back, save the arm. We never even saw that. We just saw a bunch of 86s and 87s. So as it sits right now, I don't view him as a guy that can pitch the 9th inning. And I know that sounds obvious on its face, but I don't see how it's possible. Thankfully, it seems as though the Royals are willing to pivot right now as well. Lucas Erceg pitched really well Saturday and Sunday. Lucas got the save on Sunday, 99, top of the zone, blew Austin Riley's doors off. His velocity is back to what we saw in 2024, 98, 99, 100. Last year dealt with some of the back stuff that I think led to a little bit of the velo going down and a lack of the strikeouts being there. If he's back where he was in 24, well, I think we'll see that uptick, and it's there. Strahm can handle the 9th inning as well. He can also handle a lot of the high leverage innings. I think Nick Mears, with the stuff that I saw on Monday, if that's any indication, he can handle some of the high leverage. And clearly they trust John Schreiber still. I know that he catches the ire of fans sometimes, but they clearly trust him. He handled the 9th inning on Monday and did pretty well with it. So the good news is they have guys that can handle these innings. But what does Carlos Estevez's role look like if he's not in the closer role? Is he just relegated to mop up? Is he going to pitch the 7th? I have no idea. And can he even handle low leverage with the stuff as it currently sits? We'll find out. It sounds like the Royals are willing to let him, as long as the ankle isn't a problem, because he got hit with that comebacker on Saturday as well, would just add injury to insult, I guess. and see if he can handle some lower leverage spots. A 2-run game in the 6th, if that's what it comes to, or hey, they're down 4, keep it where it's at in the 8th. They're up 4 in the 8th. Hey, just let's get an inning here and see where it's at. If he can handle those spots, then okay, maybe as the potential of the fastball coming back. And we still don't know if his fastball is going to come back. Right? That's the other side of this. Is there is a world, however slim you may believe it is, that he's back to 94, 95 in a couple weeks. And it's like, okay, really slow on the ramp up. Something got messed up, but he's closer to the guy he was last year and can handle some more high leverage with a little bit of an increased velocity. If it doesn't come back, then it's kind of like Will Smith a couple of years ago, where he's going to throw a bunch of low leverage, mop up, and he saved the bullpen, right? And on those types of days, it seems like that might be the role that he ends up in. We'll see. I don't know, but the good news is the Royals have a bunch of guys that can handle those situations, and they have guys in Omaha that can do it too. Steven Cruz, potentially Bewinder Avila if they want to pull that ripcord and send him to the bullpen. Eli Morgan can handle some innings if they need him to. Not high leverage, but he can just handle big league innings. He's done it before. And you still have Ryan Berger, Stephen Kolek. If they need big league innings, they can slot in there as well. So, and Mitch Spence. I'm not going to forget about him as well. So they have options and they have the ability to go in some different directions if it doesn't work out for Estevez, if he doesn't ever get back to the guy he was last season. The last thing, and I was just trying to find one more because I had 4 or 5 notes on the hitters. I wanted at least 4 on the pitcher side. Seth Lugo he turned the clock back to 2024 in that start. And I was curious where the fastball usage was at compared to last year. So it felt like he threw the fastballs more, the sinker, the cutter, the 4-seam. It felt like he threw it more than he did last year because he has such a wide array of pitches, right? He combined those 3 pitches, 45.5% of his outing. Last year, he threw those pitches over the course of the season about half the time, 49%. So it's actually, he took it down a little bit. But I thought it was interesting because he throws all of these pitches. There was an emphasis on getting back to throwing those pitches more, right? And getting to a place where he could get ahead with the fastball more. And it was just really interesting how he used all of these pitches, right? He didn't throw any pitch more than 14 times, but it was 14 4-seamers, 13 curve, 12 sinker, 9 sweeper, 9 cutter, 9 slider, 11 changeup, 1 slurve, 1 slow curve. And just so it seems like he found in that start a way to get ahead with the fastball and then let everything else kind of play off it and keep the hitter guessing with 2 strikes when he has the count leverage. And he's not trying to just throw, 2-1 sliders, trying to flip it over and get ahead. Get ahead with the heaters and then let everything else play off. And when he needs to go back to a backdoor cutter, he can. Throw that sinker down, get a ground ball. 4-seam, top of the zone. He hit a 95 in that start, which I thought was good to see. So I'm always going to be fascinated by Seth Lugo's pitch usage and how he handles some of these starts. But early indication seems like he's found a mix, and we'll see how it plays over the weekend against Milwaukee. I think that's going to do it for this episode. I appreciate everyone that listened to this. We'll talk later this week, Thursday afternoon. As long as the game goes on, about 20 minutes after final pitch, we'll be live on the show talking about the game on Thursday against Cleveland, or not Cleveland, God dog it. I just got all out of sorts thinking about games down the road. Against Minnesota. We'll be live breaking down that game, previewing a little bit of the weekend series, and then we'll have potentially a post-game show on Sunday. That'll be Easter Sunday, so maybe a little tricky there, but I should be available, and we'll at least be on there for a little while to talk about that series, a little bit of the weekend, and then previewing the series on the road against Cleveland before the Royals make it back. So still a lot coming your way. I appreciate everybody listening to this, tuning in on the audio video side, and we'll talk later this week. Have a great one, everybody.